Well, it's that time of the week again, and another episode of Sparks Family has just come out. And this one has probably been one of the most interesting yet. In terms of its overall story, we're learning in this episode, I think, the fact that it actually do have consequences, but also the fact that it was also sort of one of the most heartwarming, but also one of the most funny as well, because all the heartwarming stuff sort of turning out to be pointless. The best bit, arguably about the first episode, I think, was an initial conflict in which Anya and the rest of her class, I think, were doing some cleaning up the grounds with dead leaves, and then one of the boys in their class, who they probably would have met, suddenly decides to get revenge on Damien for something. Basically, his family's company has been taken over, and Damien sort of doesn't really know what's going on, as that's adult stuff, and he really wouldn't necessarily have a concern with it. But one thing that does happen that is quite funny about the whole thing is the fact that Anya soon realises quite early on what's going on, and at the same time it turns out for a fact that the other boy's company, Gloom's, his father's company, could potentially be going under or in trouble, and that could mean he leaves the school. And he's blaming Damien for it because the Desmond group probably might be trying to do something to his father's company. That will then, of course, mean the fact that he's in trouble, so he takes his anger out on Damien. But then it also turns out the fact he's going to be leaving the school. I think what made this episode so funny is just the fact of how ridiculous the whole plot was. It was immensely funny to see. I think it's the fact they all think it's going to be like his last day at school, so they make his last day extra special. But it turns out that it was all pointless. As a result, he goes back to school the next day, as it turns out the fact that fathers will not be losing, he'll be not as long as CEO of the company, but instead, he'll just be working like head of research. I think, and that was just made the episode so funny, was just the fact of how much of it went on. So all the class decided to give Mr. Gloom a final send-off, a final special memory of the day, so he could leave the school happy and leave his school in high spirits with his head held high, so that way he could go on to the next stage of his life free of trouble and knowing for a fact that at least one of his memories there will be a special one. And it all turns out the fact that there was no need for that in the first place, so as a result he goes off on a high note only to go back to school the next day, so basically all of that was for nothing. That was exceptionally funny, especially when he realised the fact that he wasn't in any real danger, because his father, I think, was the brains of the company, so they were going to keep him on anyway. The other thing I think I found absolutely hilarious about the whole thing was the fact that Yor finally gets another chance to shine again, which I think is a good one. Yor's been sort of underutilised up until this point anyway. Yor, being the overprotective and somewhat unorthodox and awkward mother she is, realised the fact that Anya left something behind when she was running late for school. And in this case, it turns out for a fact that, and of course, Yor overreacts in a fairly comical way. Namely the fact she thinks that Anya's going to be expelled for forgetting something at home. And then she tries to catch Anya up at school, and it sort of doesn't go according to plan. Basically, she thinks that Anya could be expelled or severely punished for forgetting something. But it turns out there was a very good reason why Anya left that thing behind. And so, Yor demonstrates her incredible agility and speed, running through the city to get to Eden Academy, ducking and diving between students, disguising herself, displaying an Ashley in it. To give a disguise by disguising herself as a teacher and trying to track Anya down. She then tries to find Anya, and then Anya tells her that basically she did it all for nothing, but the reason when she left what was in the bag was her PE kit. The reason why she left that behind was with the fact she didn't have PE that day, so why carry around extra weight? And then Yor overreacts in the most comical way possible, and at the same time Lloyd wonders what the hell's going on, because surely that must mean something serious is afoot. Well, it turns out it wasn't. It turns out it was just Yor overreacting in a very comical way, and probably not being somewhat out of her depth with motherhood again. And then to cap it all off, she says the fact she's a failure of a mother. What annoys is the fact she isn't a failure at mother. She's just doing the best she can, as most parents do. And then the other hilarious thing I would like to say is the fact that both the jokes of the episode I think were brilliantly funny. The fact that the boy was going to be leaving the school actually wasn't leaving. He was going to be going to the same school the next day, so so all of that was for nothing, and as a result he sort of got demonised for it and felt absolutely mortified. And probably mortified of his classmates. And the fact that you got into a huge flap over something that Anya didn't necessarily really need at all anyway. Anya didn't need her PE kit that day, so she just went, so of course she would leave it behind. And in many cases, a PE kit could be an extra bag. Well, it wasn't my case when I was at school. So if you're going to carry around extra weight, don't carry around extra weight. Just leave things as they are. Why waste time and energy on something pointless? And in both cases, they do something completely needlessly, and as a result, it has hilarious consequences later. As a result, the joke balance and everything else was quite funny. It was nice to get a heartwarming moment, and heartwarming moments are usually, if done right, are well done. So that was nice to see. It was nice to see the fact that Anya sort of can read the situation quite well, but at the same time can't quite read it well at the same time. It was nice to see the fact of you're once again sort of wondering how much of a failure she is as a parent. And also I think just seeing Lloyd take a step back. The last few episodes are basically focusing around him, and it was nice to see him take a step back for a sort of an Anya / school / your focused episode this time. That was pretty nice to see given the fact of the two clips of the episode. It was nice to see the fact that Yor was once again in the spotlight again. Because I think Yor, out of all the three main characters, are the most underutilised because their personality and her incredible abilities are just that funny. And I think, or possibly maybe in the next one, we might be getting a Yor-centric episode. Or at the very least, something funny is going to happen. And it's going to be very confusing as we try and figure it out. That and the fact of Anya being Anya and doing something particularly hilarious all at the same time. I can't wait for the next one. Well, I've been the Universal Challenger, asking you to please leave a like, share, comment, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio!